A very good evening and a very warm welcome to State of Business on our television. I am Savindri Jayawardena. Let's look at the top stories for the day. All schools in Western Province will reopen next Monday, government announces. Country will continue with the local mechanisms to achieve reconciliation, Foreign Minister asserts. News in detail. Following Health Ministry recommendations, Education Minister Professor G.L. Peiris said that all grades of Western Province schools will reopen next Monday. While addressing the media at the Information Department today, he further stated that the preschools in the Western Province have been permitted to commence from Monday.
We are not distinguishing among private schools and government schools. The issue is whether the health conditions prevailing in the country are conducive to the reopening of schools. So once a policy decision is made that the health situation enables the reopening of schools, there is no restriction whatsoever with regard to private schools and international schools. The situation is the same for all of them.
The resolution titled Promoting Reconciliation, Accountability and Human Rights in Sri Lanka was adopted by the 47th member United Nations Human Rights Council with 22 votes in favour and 11 votes against yesterday. 14 member states, including India, abstained from voting, while the South Asian member states either voted against or abstained during the voting on Sri Lanka at the 46th session of United Nations Human Rights Council. China and Pakistan took lead against the resolution after criticizing the Council's unfair treatment towards Sri Lanka. Convening a press conference yesterday, Foreign Affairs Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that Sri Lanka restored human rights by defeating the LTT. He added that Sri Lankan forces were able to bring the conflict to an end so that Sinhala, Tamil and Muslim communities could live with a sense of security.
The voting pattern goes as out of the total 47, 22 for the resolution, 11 opposed to the resolution and 14 abstaining, not voting with the resolution, which adds up to 25. This was not the forecast of the European nations even about 1 hour ago. I must say, their figures have gone wrong. As they go wrong by depriving hundreds of countries, over 100 countries of vaccination, by blocking even the flow of vaccination to those countries. Sad to say, but we have to mention this. Human rights. Sri Lanka restored human rights by defeating the LTT. LTT massacred all Tamil democratic leaders. LTT massacred innocent children, youth of the north and east. Sri Lankan forces were able to bring the conflict to an end so that Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim, all could live in a better, secured human life in Sri Lanka.
In the meantime, Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says that the country will continue with the local mechanisms to achieve reconciliation and development for people regardless of hostile resolutions. The assurance was given by the minister during a press conference held yesterday afternoon at the Foreign Ministry Auditorium. The minister said that the government rejects the report submitted by the High Commissioner for Human Rights of the United Nations, Michelle Bachelet, as it is based on completely unjust and incorrect statistics. He added that any of these resolutions without the consent and acceptance of the country concerned cannot be implemented. Speaking further, the minister said that the country is working to make the 2030 Sustainable Development Plan declared by the United Nations a success. He pointed out that any Sinhalese, Tamil, Christian or Muslim living in the country can travel, live and settle anywhere, and that today the country has been transformed into a country that protects the civil rights destroyed by the LTT terrorists.
Any of these resolutions without the consent and the acceptance of the country concerned cannot be implemented. That is the basic principle. It will have to go a very, very long way. They have been calling for reports in the next 12 months. And we have moved forward today, as I mentioned in Sinhala, from Point Pedro to Dondra to Point Pedro. Anyone can move Any citizen can move up and down, travel, do business, engage in any vocation. That is the achievements of Sri Lanka's progress now. And the European countries have not understood the ground situation. The ground situation is that no one would question that. Tourists are wanting to come to Sri Lanka, to travel around Sri Lanka. If not for COVID, they would have been here.
Stay tuned for more news right after this break. Welcome back after the break. The proposal made to suspend the import of ceramic products on a 180-day loan basis have been approved by the Cabinet of Ministers. The decision was revealed by the Cabinet spokesman Keheliya Rambukwalla at the Cabinet press conference held today. The proposal has been made to allow the importation of saris other than batik and handloom and textiles on a 90-day loan basis. The proposal made by Minister of Finance Mahinda Rajapaksa to proceed with the relevant activities was approved by the Cabinet of Ministers under the provisions of Section 20 of the Gazette notification issued under the Import and Export Act. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers have approved the proposal to introduce a Special Goods and Service Tax Act as presented by Minister of Finance. Under the Act, it is expected to simplify the GST tax related to liquor, cigarettes, betting and vehicles.
Well, I suppose this is in keeping with the policy statement that was made in the Parliament, and then it was corrected to the advice given by the finance sectors. So, whatever it is, they have approved that, but the mechanisms of it will be brought back to the Cabinet, and then we'll be discussing as to what is more effective. As you suggest, that if it is obsolete thing, then, we might not be able, we might not take it up. But right now what happens is this, there are certain specific areas where they have specified this tax to be imposed. As you see it, you will find that vidhana yatate matpan, cigarette, vahana, sannivedana saha ottu allima. Right? So, there are specific areas. There must be a reason.
Provincial statistics released by Sri Lanka Customs show that Sri Lanka's export earnings have produced a 2.52% growth to a new high of $993.73 million in February 2021, maintaining the growth momentum recorded during the past 5 months. Sri Lanka's export earnings reached a 5-year high, barely missing the $1 billion mark in February this year as exports recovered from the second COVID-19 wave that emerged in the final quarter of 2020. The Export Development Board Chairman Suresh Timal remarked that the Sri Lankans are strong in facing challenges and the exporters have shouldered the task of placing country's economy in right track. The export recovery in February was driven by significant growth in export of electrical and electronic components, spices, essential oils, tea, food and beverages, coconut and rubber-based products, despite the major decline in the April export earnings. The cumulative merchandise export earnings for the first 2 months of this year were down by 1.5% year-to-year to $1.9 billion. However, in the 2 months period, earnings from April exports contracted by 8.08%. Tea exports recorded a modest growth of 2.88% during the 2-month period to 213.52 million, while the rubber-based exports grew by 13.76% to $16,784 billion, with industrial and surgical rubber gloves recording a 54.27% growth. Export earnings from spices and essential oils nearly doubled in the 2-month period compared to the last year. However, the export earnings from petroleum products, seafood, fruits, vegetables, gems, diamond and jewellery products has been declined significantly. Despite Brexit and European Union export market, a notable growth was also recorded in exports to Germany, Italy and Netherlands. Information and Communication Technology Agency of Sri Lanka concluded eSwabhimani 2020 National Digital Social Impact Award ceremony recently at the Hilton Hotel premises. The event was graced by the patronage of Principal Advisor to the President Lalit Weeratunga. eSwabhimani 2020 was held for the 10th consecutive year to recognize and celebrate digital innovations with social impact adhering to local health guidelines. Addressing the award ceremony, ICTA Chairman Professor Lalit Gamage emphasized the value of providing a platform for new digital innovation to emerge through the support of a digitalized government and an economy.
The digital government is mainly focusing on 3 areas. We want the government to be citizen-centric, the government to provide its services to citizens effectively, efficiently, and in a convenient manner. We want the government to be business-friendly so that the businesses don't have to waste time in getting certain approvals, which will eventually create the right environment for us to attract foreign direct investment and so on.
Stay tuned for stock updates right after this break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The All Share Price Index gained 156.55 points to close at 7,135.84 and the S&P SL20 gained 69.29 points to close at 2,871.08. The turnover was 1.5 billion rupees and over 67 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. And that's all news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care and good night.